The great crystal dome of Altara Prime sparkled under three purple suns as beings from across the galaxy gathered for the most important meeting of the cycle. Inside the massive chamber, 47 different species sat in their environmental pods, each breathing different gases and living at different temperatures. The air itself was divided into sections, with invisible barriers keeping methane breathers separate from hydrogen consumers and silicon-based life forms apart from carbon creatures. Ambassador Thane adjusted his breathing apparatus and looked down at the datapad in his four-fingered hands. Today he would present the most amusing discovery his people had made in centuries. The hegemony's exploration fleets had found a new species, and this one was so pathetic that it almost seemed like a joke the universe was playing on civilized life. Honored delegates, Thane began, his voice carrying through the translation systems that converted his words into chemicals, light patterns, and magnetic fields for the various species present. We have discovered a new world in the outer spiral. The inhabitants call their planet Earth and themselves humans. A ripple of interest passed through the chamber. New species were always cause for excitement, especially if they showed potential for advancement or useful resources. The deep world dwellers, who breathed methane and lived in crushing darkness, leaned forward in their pressurized tanks. The architects, beings of living silicon who communicated through harmonic vibrations, began humming with curiosity. Thane activated the holographic display, and suddenly the chamber filled with images of a small blue and green world spinning slowly in the darkness of space. "This is their homeworld," he said, barely containing his amusement. "Notice the atmospheric composition." Numbers began flowing across the display, and gradually the chamber fell silent. The chemical breakdown of Earth's atmosphere appeared in glowing symbols that translated automatically for each species. Nitrogen at 78%, oxygen at 21%, with traces of other gases making up the remainder. "Impossible," whispered Elder Korthik of the Methane Collective. "Nothing can survive in such concentrations of oxidizer." "That is what we thought as well," Thane replied, his mandibles clicking with what his species considered laughter. "But these creatures not only survive in this environment, they require it. They have evolved to breathe the most corrosive atmospheric component known to science." The chamber erupted in sounds of disbelief. The architect's harmonic humming became discordant with shock. The deep world dwellers released clouds of confused pheromones into their methane atmosphere. Even the energy beings, who had no need for atmosphere at all, pulsed with amazement. "Surely this is an error in your sensors," suggested Council Speaker. Velith, a graceful being whose species breathed noble gases and lived in near-vacuum conditions. "No intelligence could evolve in such a caustic environment." "Our instruments have been checked and rechecked," Thane assured the Assembly. "These humans not only live in this poisonous atmosphere, they have spread across their entire world. They have built cities, developed technology, and even achieved primitive spaceflight while breathing what we would consider a weapon of mass destruction." The display changed to show images of human cities with millions of the strange bipedal creatures walking around completely unprotected. Their skin was exposed to the corrosive atmosphere, and they seemed to be taking the deadly gas directly into their bodies through small holes in their faces. "How do they survive?" asked Representative Zoss of the Crystal Communion. "Their bodies should be dissolving." "That is the most disturbing part," Thane said, his voice dropping to what his species used for emphasis. "They have evolved to use the corrosive properties of oxygen as their primary life support system. Their bodies run on controlled oxidation reactions. They are essentially living chemical weapons." The silence that followed was unlike anything the Galactic Council had ever experienced. 47 species, representing billions of years of evolution and thousands of different environmental adaptations, sat in stunned quiet as they processed this information. Finally, Elder Korthik spoke again. "Are they dangerous?" "We believe not," Thane replied. "They are trapped on their world by their dependence on this toxic atmosphere. They cannot survive without constant exposure to oxygen, which limits their ability to travel or colonize other worlds. They are essentially prisoners of their own deadly environment. "Have you made contact?" asked the council speaker. "We have sent diplomatic signals," Thane said. They responded with what our translators interpret as curiosity and eagerness to meet other species. They seem unaware of how dangerous their world is or how primitive their evolution has been. The architect delegate began humming in what sounded like concern. "If they are intelligent but trapped by their environment, perhaps we should help them. We could provide them with proper atmospheric conversion technology, relocate them to worlds with breathable gases." "That is precisely what we recommend," Thane agreed. "These humans represent a unique case in galactic history. They have achieved intelligence despite evolving in conditions that should have killed them millions of years ago. With proper guidance and atmospheric support, they might become productive members of galactic society." "What do they call their atmospheric poison?" asked Representative Zoss. "They call it air," Thane replied, and the chamber filled with the sounds of various species expressing amusement. "They seem to think it is normal," the council speaker called for order. "This is indeed a unique situation. We have never encountered a species that evolved in an oxidizing atmosphere. The medical implications alone are staggering." "Our xenobiologists are fascinated," Thane admitted. "They want to study how these creatures survive constant exposure to such reactive chemistry. It could revolutionize our understanding of adaptive evolution." "But they pose no threat to galactic civilization?" Elder Korthek asked again. "None whatsoever," Thane assured him. "They are completely dependent on their toxic atmosphere. Without it, they would die within minutes. They are effectively quarantined on their own world by their biology." The discussion continued for hours, with various delegates expressing amazement, concern, and scientific curiosity about the oxygen-breathing humans. Some wanted to study them, others suggested helping them, and a few recommended leaving them alone entirely. Eventually, the council speaker called for a preliminary vote. All in favor of classifying Earth as a protected world with atmospheric hazard warnings? The vote was unanimous. In the official records, Earth was listed as Environmental Class 7 Toxic Atmosphere, unsuitable for known life forms. Inhabitants require specialized life support. Recommend quarantine protocols. As the meeting ended and the delegates returned to their ships, Thane felt satisfied with the day's work. Humanity had been officially classified as a curiosity, nothing more. They were trapped on their poisonous world, dependent on their deadly atmosphere, and completely harmless to the rest of the galaxy. It never occurred to him that a species which had learned to weaponize the most corrosive gas in the universe might be more dangerous than anyone could imagine. The mining fleet hung in the darkness beyond Neptune like a collection of metallic pearls, their hulls gleaming under the distant light of Sol. Fleet Commander Gorik studied the tactical displays from his command chamber, breathing the clean, hydrogen-rich atmosphere his people had evolved to need. 3 months had passed since the Galactic Council's decision to quarantine Earth, but the hegemony had other plans. "Sir," reported Navigation Officer Drac, his breathing apparatus hissing softly as he spoke, "we are in position at the edge of the system. All ships report ready for atmospheric modification procedures." Gorik nodded, his 4 eyes focusing on the small blue dot that appeared on his screens. Such a tiny world, yet it contained resources that could fuel the hegemony's expansion for generations. The humans were simply in the way, trapped by their dependence on poison gas and unable to resist superior technology. "Open a communication channel to the planet," he ordered. "Let us give these oxygen-addicted creatures a chance to surrender peacefully." The communication system activated, sending signals toward Earth on multiple frequencies. Within minutes, a response came back, translated through the universal language matrix into something Gorik could understand. "This is Earth Defense Command," came the voice, strangely calm for beings who were about to be conquered. "We are receiving your transmission. Please state your intentions." Gorik stood, his ceremonial armor gleaming in the artificial light of his command chamber. "I am Fleet Commander Gorik of the Hegemony 4th Mining Fleet. You will prepare for immediate evacuation of your world. We have selected several methane-rich planets where your species can be properly relocated and civilized. There was a pause. Then the human voice returned. We appreciate your concern for our well-being, Commander, but we are quite comfortable here. We must respectfully decline your generous offer. Several officers in the command chamber made sounds of amusement. Chief Analyst Nord looked up from his data console, his breathing mask fogging with what his species considered laughter. Sir, I think they have a choice in the matter. Continue the communication, Gorik ordered. Perhaps they simply do not understand the situation. Humans of Earth, he said, using the tone he reserved for speaking to primitive species, you do not understand the danger you are in. Your world's atmosphere is poisonous to all known life. We are offering to save you from this toxic environment and provide you with clean, breathable gases on worlds suitable for civilized existence. The response came back immediately. Thank you for your concern, but we have been living with this atmosphere for quite some time. We have learned to manage. Nord activated his analysis display, showing detailed readings of Earth's atmospheric composition. Sir, they truly do not understand. They have been breathing poison their entire evolutionary history. They probably think it is normal. How long can they survive once we begin atmospheric modification? Gorik asked. Our projections indicate they will become helpless within hours, Nord replied. Once we begin converting their toxic oxygen into clean hydrogen and methane, they will be forced to use artificial life support. They will have no choice but to accept relocation. Gorik studied the tactical information on his displays. 47 ships, each equipped with atmospheric processors capable of converting entire planetary atmospheres in a matter of days. The humans had perhaps 100 primitive spacecraft, none of which could survive in the vacuum of space for more than a few hours. Begin Phase 1, he ordered. Deploy atmospheric processors to the upper atmosphere. Begin conversion of their oxygen into breathable gases. The fleet moved with practiced efficiency, ships taking positions throughout Earth's solar system. The atmospheric processors, massive machines designed to terraform entire worlds, began their work. They started converting the deadly oxygen in Earth's atmosphere into hydrogen and methane, gases that civilized species could actually breathe. Sir, reported Communications Officer Vex, we are receiving multiple transmissions from the planet's surface. They seem to be ... laughing? Gorik asked, puzzled. Are you certain the translation is correct? Yes, sir, they are definitely expressing amusement. One transmission says, and I quote, Well, this should be interesting. Nord looked up from his instruments. Sir, their reaction does not match our projections. They should be panicking as their life support systems fail. Perhaps they are too primitive to understand what is happening, Gorik suggested. Continue the process. Once they begin suffocating, they will understand the seriousness of their situation. Hours passed, and the atmospheric processes continued their work. The oxygen content in Earth's atmosphere began to drop as it was converted into more suitable gases. The fleet waited for the inevitable surrender calls from the planet's surface. Instead, they received a formal communication from something called the United Nations of Earth. Commander Gorik, came the voice, still unnaturally calm, we have noticed your atmospheric modification efforts. While we appreciate your attempt to make our air more suitable for your species, we must ask you to stop. We are quite attached to our current atmospheric composition. They are still breathing, Nord reported, his voice filled with confusion. Our instruments show no signs of distress from the population centers. How is that possible? Gorik demanded. The oxygen levels have dropped by 15%. Unknown, sir. They appear to be completely unaffected by the atmospheric changes. Gorik activated the communication system again. Humans of Earth, you cannot continue to survive in a reducing atmosphere. You must surrender now and allow us to relocate you to proper worlds. The response came back immediately. Commander, we have been monitoring your modification efforts. Your hydrogen and methane introduction is actually making our atmosphere more dangerous, not less. For your own safety, we recommend you maintain distance from our planet. Dangerous? Gorik asked. How can clean gases be dangerous? Sir, Nord said, his voice suddenly urgent, I am detecting massive energy signatures from the planet's surface. They appear to be ... igniting something. The main display lit up with readings from Earth's surface. In locations around the planet, the humans were creating controlled explosions, burning off the hydrogen and methane that the atmospheric processors had introduced. The chemical reactions were converting the gases back into water vapor and carbon dioxide, leaving the oxygen levels unchanged. They are using fire, Nord whispered. They are burning the gases we gave them. That is impossible, Gorik said. Fire cannot exist in their toxic atmosphere. Sir, oxygen supports combustion. In fact, it makes everything burn more efficiently. They are not just surviving in their poisonous atmosphere, they are using it as a weapon. The fleet's instruments detected massive thermal signatures as the humans systematically burned away every trace of clean gas the atmospheric processors had introduced. Within hours, Earth's atmosphere was back to its original composition with 21% oxygen and all the deadly chemistry that implied. Sir, Communications Officer Vex reported, we are receiving another transmission from the planet. Put it through, Gorik ordered. Commander Gorik, this is General Davis of Earth Defense Command. We have successfully countered your atmospheric modification attempts. For your own safety, we recommend you withdraw to a safe distance. Our atmosphere is about to become significantly more dangerous. How can it become more dangerous? Gorik demanded. We are about to demonstrate why oxygen is not just our life support system, but our primary defensive weapon. The transmission ended, leaving the fleet hanging in space above a world that had just proved it could weaponize the most corrosive gas in the known universe. For the first time since the operation began, Fleet Commander Gorik felt something his species rarely experienced: fear. The first dropships descended through Earth's atmosphere like falling stars, their hulls glowing as they encountered the thick, poisonous gases that surrounded the planet. Inside the lead vessel, Squad Leader Brix checked his environmental suit one final time, making certain that every seal was perfect and every filter was working at maximum capacity. Remember, he told his troops through the communication system, this atmosphere will kill you in seconds if your suit fails. The oxygen concentration is high enough to burn through most materials we know. Stay in formation and do not remove your protective gear for any reason. The 12 soldiers in the dropship nodded, their breathing apparatus creating a constant hissing sound as they filtered the clean hydrogen they needed from their internal supplies. Each suit was rated for exposure to Class 7 toxic environments, with triple redundant life support systems and emergency backup atmospheric supplies. Landing zone confirmed, reported the pilot, setting down in what the humans call Nevada Desert. Atmospheric readings show standard toxic levels, with oxygen at 21% and nitrogen at 78%. The dropship touched down with a soft thud and the rear ramp began to lower. Immediately, Brix's suit alarms began sounding warnings as the external sensors detected the corrosive atmosphere outside. Suits sealed and confirmed, he reported to the fleet. Beginning exploration of the surface. The soldiers stepped out onto the alien world, their boots crunching on something the humans called sand. The landscape was brown and empty, with strange rocky formations rising from the ground like the bones of some massive creature. In the distance, they could see the shimmer of heat rising from the surface. And overhead, a single yellow star burned in a blue sky. Sir, reported Private Kell, his voice tight with concern, my suit is reporting accelerated wear on the external plating. The atmospheric corrosion is happening faster than predicted. Confirmed, Brix replied, checking his own readings. We may have less time than planned. Maintain formation and continue the mission. They had been walking for perhaps 10 minutes when the first human appeared. The alien came walking over a ridge, and Brix immediately raised his weapon, expecting to see a creature in some kind of protective suit similar to their own. Instead, he saw something that made him question the accuracy of his sensors. The human was walking around completely unprotected. Its skin was exposed to the corrosive atmosphere, and it appeared to be taking the deadly gas directly into its body through small openings in its face. It was wearing what looked like simple fabric clothing with no breathing apparatus, no protective helmet, and no environmental suit of any kind. "Impossible," whispered Private Cal. "The instruments must be malfunctioning." The human approached them with its arms raised, apparently making some kind of peaceful gesture. It spoke in its native language, and the translation device in Brix's suit converted the words into something he could understand. "Hello," the human said. "I am Lieutenant Torres of the United States Army. Welcome to Earth." Brix stared at the creature in amazement. "You are not wearing any protective equipment." "No," Torres replied, seeming puzzled by the question. "Should I be? You are breathing the atmospheric poison directly," Brix said. "How are you surviving?" Torres looked even more confused. "I am breathing air. It is what my species needs to live." "Sir," reported Private Kell, his voice filled with alarm, "my suit's external plating is showing significant corrosion. The atmospheric acid is eating through the protective layers." Brix looked at his own readings and felt his blood turn cold. The oxygen-rich atmosphere was indeed attacking their suits, breaking down the materials faster than their engineers had predicted. They had perhaps an hour before the suits would fail completely. "Human," he said to Torres, "we need to establish a secure communication link with your government. We require immediate access to atmospheric processing equipment." "Of course," Torres said. "We have prepared a meeting facility about 2 kilometers from here. Would you like to walk there, or would you prefer transportation?" "We cannot travel 2 kilometers in this atmosphere," Brix replied. "Our suits will fail before we reach the destination." Torres looked at the squad of aliens with what his species called sympathy. "I am sorry, I did not realize your equipment was so fragile. Let me call for a vehicle." He raised a small device to his face and spoke into it. Within minutes, a large wheeled vehicle appeared, moving across the desert toward them. Like the human, it appeared to be completely unprotected from the corrosive atmosphere. "How does your machinery function in this environment?" Brix asked as they climbed into the vehicle. "What do you mean?" Torres replied, "This is a standard military transport. It is designed to operate in normal atmospheric conditions." "Your atmosphere is destroying our equipment," Private Kell said. "How do you prevent the corrosion?" Torres looked at the alien soldiers with growing understanding. "You are not from an oxygen-rich world, are you?" "Of course not," Brix replied. "Number intelligent species could evolve in such a toxic environment?" "I see," Torres said quietly. "That explains a great deal." The vehicle carried them to a large building that had been constructed with transparent walls, allowing both species to see each other while maintaining separate atmospheric environments. On one side, human diplomats sat in their normal air, breathing the deadly oxygen as casually as if it were harmless. On the other side, the hegemony soldiers huddled in their environmental suits, their equipment failing steadily in the corrosive atmosphere. Ambassador Davis, a human female, sat across from Brix with no protective equipment at all. "We understand there has been some confusion about our atmospheric requirements," she said. "You are breathing poison," Brix replied. "How do you survive?" "We do not consider oxygen to be poison," Davis explained. "We consider it to be essential. For life, our bodies use it to generate energy, to fight infections, and to maintain cellular function." "Your bodies use corrosive oxidizer for energy?" Brix asked, his voice filled with horror. "Yes," Davis confirmed. "We evolved in this environment. Oxygen is not dangerous to us. It is what keeps us alive." "But it is destroying our equipment," Private Kell protested. "It is eating through our suits." "I understand that," Davis said. "Different species have different environmental needs. Your equipment is designed for reducing atmospheres, while ours is designed for oxidizing ones." Brix felt a chill that had nothing to do with his suit's life support systems. "Are you saying that you have evolved to survive in an environment that would kill most galactic species?" "We have evolved to thrive in this environment," Davis corrected. "We do not just survive here. We have built our entire civilization using the chemical properties of oxygen." "Sir," reported Private Kell, "suit integrity is down to 40%. We need to return to the ship immediately." Brix looked at the human ambassador, who was sitting comfortably in an atmosphere that was slowly killing him and his soldiers. "What are you?" he asked. "We are humans," Davis replied simply. "We are the people who learned to breathe fire." As the hegemony soldiers retreated to their dropship, their equipment failing around them, Brix sent an urgent message to Fleet Commander. "Gorik, sir, we have made a critical error in our assessment. The humans are not victims of their environment. They are its masters." The message ended as his suit's external cameras finally succumbed to the corrosive atmosphere, leaving him blind. In a world where the very air was a weapon, Dr. Emma Williams sat in her laboratory at the Centers for Disease Control, surrounded by screens showing data that would have terrified most galactic species. The communication link to the hegemony fleet crackled with static as their equipment continued to fail in Earth's atmosphere, but she had insisted on giving this presentation personally. "Commander Gorik," she said, adjusting her glasses as she looked at the camera, "I understand your forces are having difficulty with our atmospheric conditions. I thought it might be helpful to explain exactly what you are dealing with." The alien. Commander's image flickered on her screen, his breathing apparatus creating a constant hissing sound as he struggled to maintain communication from his ship. "Dr. Williams, our scientists are telling us that your species should not be able to survive in your environment. Please explain how this is possible." Emma smiled, the expression lost on the alien who had no concept of human facial communication. "The answer is actually quite simple, Commander. We did not just adapt to our environment, we weaponized it." She activated the first display, showing a molecular diagram of oxygen. "This is what we breathe." As you correctly identified, it is one of the most reactive elements in the universe. It will corrode metal, break down organic compounds, and destroy most materials given enough time. "Then how do you survive?" Gorik asked. "We evolved to use its destructive properties as tools," Emma explained. "Our immune system, for example, uses oxygen to create hydrogen peroxide, superoxide radicals, and other reactive oxygen species. When bacteria or viruses invade our bodies, our white blood cells literally poison them with oxygen." The display changed to show human cellular activity, with white blood cells attacking invading microorganisms. "We do not just breathe oxygen, Commander. We weaponize it inside our own bodies to kill anything that threatens us." There was a long pause from the alien commander. "You are saying that your species uses atmospheric poison as a biological weapon?" "From your perspective, yes," Emma confirmed, "but it gets worse. Our entire ecosystem is based on oxygen production. Every green plant on our planet releases this gas into the atmosphere. We have created a world where the very air is continuously replenished with what you would consider a weapon of mass destruction." The display showed forests, grasslands, and oceans, all teeming with plant life that was actively poisoning the atmosphere from the hegemony's perspective. "We estimate that Earth's plants release approximately 330 billion tons of oxygen into our atmosphere every year." "Impossible," came another voice from the alien ship. "No ecosystem could function with such massive quantities of corrosive gas." "Dr. Nord, I assume?" Emma asked, recognizing the voice of the hegemony's chief analyst. "You are correct that most ecosystems could not function this way, but we are not most ecosystems. We built our entire food chain around oxygen utilization." The display changed again, showing the complex relationships between plants, animals, and atmospheric gases on Earth. "Our animals breathe oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide. Our plants absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen. The entire cycle is based on the controlled use of reactive chemistry." "But your equipment," Gorik protested, "how does it survive?" "We design everything to work in an oxidizing environment," Emma explained. "Our metals are treated to resist corrosion, our plastics are formulated to withstand oxygen exposure, and our electronics are built to function in reactive atmospheres." She picked up a simple steel tool from her desk. "This wrench is made from iron that has been processed to resist oxidation. To your species, this would be like building tools that can survive in a bath of acid. Dr. Williams, Dr. Noor's voice came through the communication system. We have been analyzing the biochemical data from your species. The results are disturbing. Please share your findings, Emma said. Your blood contains dissolved oxygen at concentrations that would be immediately fatal to most galactic species. Your saliva contains oxygen-derived compounds that would cause severe chemical burns. Even your tears contain enough reactive oxygen species to seriously injure most aliens. Emma nodded. That is correct. From your perspective, every human is essentially a walking chemical weapon. We do not just live in a toxic environment, we are toxic ourselves. The silence from the alien fleet was profound. Finally, Commander, Gorik spoke again. Are you saying that direct contact with your species would be fatal to us? Most likely, Emma confirmed. Our skin secretes compounds that would probably cause severe burns to your species. Our breath contains concentrated oxygen that would damage your respiratory systems. Even our hair and fingernails contain oxygen-based proteins that would be corrosive to your biology. This is why our suits are failing, came a new voice from the alien ship. We are not just dealing with a toxic atmosphere. We are dealing with a planet where everything is poisonous to us. I am afraid so, Emma said. But please understand, we are not deliberately trying to harm you. This is simply how we evolved. We are as comfortable in our environment as you are in yours. Dr. Williams, Commander Gorik said, his voice strained. We have lost 17 soldiers to suit failures. They were exposed to your atmosphere for less than 30 seconds each. What happened to them? Emma's expression became serious. Commander, I am very sorry for your losses. When species adapted to reducing atmospheres, are exposed to high concentrations of oxygen, the results are similar to what you would experience if you were exposed to concentrated acid. The oxygen reacts with their tissues, causing rapid cellular damage. They dissolved, Gorik said quietly. In a manner of speaking, yes, Emma confirmed. The oxygen in our air would cause immediate and severe chemical burns to their respiratory systems, leading to rapid tissue breakdown. The communication link crackled with static as more alien equipment failed. Dr. Williams, we had no idea, Gorik said. We thought we were dealing with a primitive species trapped by their dependence on toxic gases. Commander, we appreciate your initial desire to help us, Emma said, but we are not trapped by our environment. We are empowered by it. We have learned to use the most reactive gas in the universe as our primary life support system. What does this mean for galactic relations? Dr. Nord asked. Emma considered the question carefully. It means that we are probably the first species you have encountered that evolved in an oxidizing environment. We represent a completely different branch of evolutionary development than anything in your galactic community. Are you dangerous to other species? Gorik asked. Only if they try to breathe our air or make direct contact with us, Emma replied. We have no desire to harm anyone. But our very existence is based on chemistry that would be lethal to most galactic life. The communication link began to fail completely as the last of the hegemony's equipment succumbed to Earth's corrosive atmosphere. Through the static, Emma could hear Commander Gorik's final transmission. Dr. Williams, we are withdrawing from your system immediately. We will recommend to the Galactic Council that Earth be classified as a Class 10 death world. We apologize for our misunderstanding. Commander, Emma said quickly, we hope this does not end communication between our species. We would very much like to establish peaceful relations with the galactic community. Dr. Williams, came Gorik's fading voice, I do not think the galaxy is ready for a species that has weaponized the most dangerous gas in the universe. The communication link went dead, leaving Emma alone in her laboratory with data that showed exactly how terrifying humans were to the rest of the galaxy. She had just explained to an alien species that every breath she took was an act of biological warfare from their perspective, outside her window. She could see people walking in the sunshine, children playing in parks, and cars driving down streets. None of them realized that they were living weapons in a world that would kill most intelligent life in the galaxy within minutes. Emma Williams, biochemist and inadvertent ambassador to the stars, had just taught the galaxy to fear the sound of human breathing. The display showed detailed schematics of proposed diplomatic facilities with separate atmospheric zones connected by airlock systems and communication networks. We believe that with proper precautions, our species can work together safely. But why would we want to work with you? Demanded Representative Zoss. What could humanity possibly offer the galactic community that would be worth the risk? Santos smiled, an expression that translated poorly but somehow conveyed confidence. We offer something that no other species in the galaxy possesses. We offer expertise in extreme environment operations. The chamber fell silent again as the implications sank in. There are worlds throughout the galaxy that no species can explore because of atmospheric toxicity, Santos continued. Planets with high oxygen content, worlds with reactive atmospheric chemistry, environments where oxidizing gases make exploration impossible. For us, these are not death worlds. They are simply different types of gardens. Elder Korthek leaned forward in his methane tank. You are saying you could explore worlds that would kill us instantly. We are saying we already have, Santos replied. We have identified 17 worlds in our local galactic region that match our atmospheric requirements. From your perspective, these are uninhabitable death worlds. From ours, they are potential colonies. The council speaker's voice was barely a whisper. You have found 17 death worlds suitable for habitation? 17 so far, Santos confirmed. Our long-range survey suggests there may be hundreds more. The galaxy appears to be full of oxygen-rich worlds that have been classified as too dangerous for exploration. Impossible, breathed Dr. Nord of the hegemony, his voice coming through a heavily shielded communication link. Those worlds have been marked as Class X death zones for centuries? Commander Gorick, Santos said, addressing the hegemony fleet. Commander directly. You mentioned during our previous communication that your people mine asteroids and moons for resources. What if we told you there are entire planets rich in metals and rare elements that no one has been able to explore because of their toxic atmospheres? The silence that followed was deafening. Every species in the chamber was thinking the same thing. If humans could safely operate in environments that killed everyone else, they would have access to resources beyond imagination. What would you want in return? Asked the council speaker finally. Knowledge, Santos replied immediately. We want to learn about galactic technology, culture, and science. We want to be part of the galactic community, even if we have to participate from a distance. And protection, added Elder Korthik suspiciously. Surely you want military protection. Santos shook her head. Honored Elder, I think you misunderstand our situation. We do not need protection from other species. Our world is naturally defended by our atmosphere. Any invasion force would be destroyed simply by landing on our planet. The terrible truth of that statement settled over the chamber like a weight. Humanity did not need military protection because their homeworld was essentially a planet-sized weapon. Any species that tried to invade Earth would be killed by the very act of breathing. What about your expansion into space? Asked Representative Zoss. Surely you will need ships and technology to explore other worlds. We are already developing those capabilities, Santos replied. Our space technology is designed to operate in oxidizing environments that would destroy most galactic equipment. We can build ships that function in atmospheric conditions no other species can survive. Ambassador Thane activated his communication system. Ambassador Santos, are you suggesting that humanity could become the galaxy's specialists in extreme environment exploration? We are suggesting that we already are, Santos replied. The question is whether the galactic community wants to work with us or continue to fear us. The debate that followed lasted for hours, with representatives arguing about the benefits and risks of establishing formal relations with humanity. Some wanted to quarantine Earth permanently, while others saw the potential for unprecedented access to unexplorable worlds. Finally, the council speaker called for a vote. All in favor of granting humanity full membership in the Galactic Council, with appropriate safety protocols? The vote was unanimous, though many representatives voted with obvious reluctance. Ambassador Santos, the council speaker announced, humanity is hereby granted full membership in the Galactic Council. You will be provided with dedicated communication facilities and specialized diplomatic protocols to ensure safe interaction with other member species. Thank you, Santos replied. We look forward to working with all of you. As the session ended and representatives began returning to their ships, the conversation in the chamber was subdued. Humanity had achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. They had earned membership through fear rather than conquest. I still cannot believe it, Elder Korthek muttered to Ambassador Thane as they prepared to leave. We have just welcomed a species that breathes poison and bleeds acid. They do not bleed acid, Thane corrected. Their blood contains dissolved oxygen that would burn through our skin like acid. How is that different? Thane considered the question carefully. It is not different. It is worse. They have weaponized the most dangerous gas in the universe and turned it into their life support system. In the months that followed, humanity's reputation spread throughout the galaxy. They became known as the oxygen breathers spoken of, in hushed tones by species that had never imagined such creatures could exist. Human ships began appearing at the edges of galactic space, exploring worlds that had been marked as death zones for millennia. The first joint human-alien expedition took place 6 months later, with human explorers investigating a high-oxygen world while alien scientists observed from heavily shielded ships in orbit. The humans walked on the planet's surface without protection, breathing air that would have killed any other galactic species instantly. The footage of humans casually exploring a Class 10 death world became legendary throughout the galaxy. Children of a dozen species would grow up hearing stories about the creatures who had learned to breathe fire and walk on worlds where the very air was poisoned. Ambassador Santos ended her final report to Earth with a single observation. We sought membership in the galactic community and found that our greatest weakness had become our greatest strength. The universe, it seems, has a sense of irony. Humanity had joined the galaxy not as conquerors or supplicants, but as the specialists in impossible environments. They had earned respect through the simple act of breathing and fear through the casual way they survived in conditions that would destroy civilizations. The mocking had stopped. The galaxy had learned to whisper when they spoke of the humans who had turned poison into paradise and death into life. Emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in complete silence, something that had never happened in the organization's 1,000-year history. Representatives from 47 species sat in their environmental pods, but for the first time, no one was speaking. The reason for their silence hung in the center of the chamber like a dark cloud of fear. Humanity had been invited to participate. The human representative appeared on the main display, broadcast from a specially constructed communication facility. On Earth, Ambassador Maria Santos sat at a simple desk, breathing the poisonous atmosphere of her homeworld as casually as if it were harmless water. She wore no protective equipment, no breathing apparatus, no environmental suit of any kind. "Honored delegates," she said, her voice carrying through the translation systems that now tagged her words with warning markers. "I am pleased to represent humanity at this gathering. We hope this marks the beginning of peaceful relations between our species and the galactic community." Council Speaker Veleth activated his communication system, his voice trembling as he spoke. "Ambassador Santos, we must first address the situation that has developed regarding your species and our member races." "Of course," Santos replied. "We understand there has been some confusion about our biology and environmental requirements." "Confusion," whispered Elder Korthek of the Methane Collective, his breathing apparatus hissing with what sounded like bitter laughter. "She calls it confusion." Ambassador Thane, who had first presented humanity to the council, activated his Display systems. Ambassador Santos, we have received reports that your species is capable of surviving in atmospheric conditions that would kill most galactic life forms within minutes. That is correct, Santos confirmed. We evolved in what you would consider an oxidizing environment. Our biology is based on chemistry that is quite different from most species in the galaxy. Different, muttered Representative Zoss of the Crystal Communion. She means deadly. A council speaker called for order, but the chamber remained, filled with the sounds of nervous breathing and fearful whispers. Ambassador Santos, we have also received reports that your species uses atmospheric oxygen as a biological weapon. We use oxygen for immune system function, yes, Santos replied. Our bodies produce reactive oxygen species to fight infections and maintain cellular health. I suppose from your perspective that could be considered weaponization. Your saliva would cause chemical burns to most species in this chamber, Elder Korthik said bluntly. Your breath would dissolve our respiratory systems. How do you expect us to establish diplomatic relations with beings who are essentially walking weapons? Santos paused, and for the first time, her expression showed something that might have been sadness. Honored delegates, I understand your concerns. We never intended to be threatening to other species. This is simply how we evolved. But you are threatening, Thane said, his mandibles clicking with agitation. The hegemony lost 17 soldiers to exposure to your atmosphere. They died in seconds. We deeply regret those losses, Santos replied. We have sent formal apologies to the hegemony government and offered to share our medical knowledge to help prevent similar accidents in the future. How can we share knowledge with a species that cannot survive in our presence? Asked the architect delegate, its harmonic voice filled with confusion. How can we establish trade, diplomacy, or cultural exchange when contact with your species is fatal? We have already begun developing solutions, Santos said, activating her own display system. Our scientists have designed environmental interfaces that would allow safe interaction between our species and others. We can create specialized facilities with atmospheric barriers, remote communication systems, and even robotic intermediaries.